She does all those nice things, you know.
Okay, well, it's June 10th, 1989, and we're with Israel, and Anna Siegel here on East Main Street in Port Jervis at their home, and we're going to ask them about their lives. So we have a souvenir and they have a souvenir of some of the things about the Siegel family. Izzy's the oldest remaining member of the clan, right, Izzy?
Right.
And so we're here with Anna, and there's Susie, and Hugh's taking the pictures. And Miriam couldn't be here, but she said it was in spirit, and it's supposed to be a souvenir for us and for my brother and sister, I guess, and for your children too, and your grandchildren, and we'll make copies of it. And so, Izzy, why don't you tell us a little bit, start from the beginning and tell us about,
there's a lot to
tell us about your life.
Right, I started when I came to the United States. My wife here, the first ship from Europe, so after the Second World War.
So they surprised us.
And we came to Port Jervis just for a visit, but we didn't plan. And finally, my wife fell in love, and I fell in love in Port Jervis, and I have the most of the family here, and we visiting for the last 42 years. And we enjoying life, and we have nice family, and nice neighbors, and I am a god in the temple.
Friends.
In my old age. And we enjoy life.
How old are you?
84, I was in March.
84 in March.
Right.
So you came here in 1947 then?
1946.
36.
46, and now it's 1985. That's
89.
40, it's going to be 43 years.
43 years.
In the last month, in May, the 23rd, 24th, we arrived in New York Harbor. And since then, we are here, we enjoy life. We have 3 sons and 2 daughters-in-laws. For my middle one is the smartest. He doesn't want to get married. I don't know.
The reason we came here, because we had 2 brothers there. That's the reason we came to Port Jervis.
Pretty neat.
Your father and
I just said it.
Harry and Max were your brothers, right?
Huh?
Harry and Max were your brothers.
we met in Russia.
And so Abe and Saul and Sylvia and Selma and Sydney, they were your
nephews. Nephews and nieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, yeah. So Harry and Max were your brothers then. You hadn't seen them since when?
I didn't see him before they came. I never saw him before I came here in the United States.
Is that right?
Yeah. I saw
when you were a child. You saw.
I saw your father when he left home and he came to the United States. When your father came here.
Yeah, when was that?
Your father was a little boy that I saw him. And he came here. He didn't know me, and I didn't know them.
And what's that?
You know, only your father and Max from pictures what he got from America. But he used to send every year. He used to send some money from my father. And that's just the way how it just happened. We got together. And when I came to the United States, I was in New York for 3 weeks. And I didn't even know, I didn't have the others. Then finally, we came to Joe Strauss. You remember Joe Strauss?
Who made the sweaters? He lived out in Sheepshead, Rockaway or somewhere like that.
Yeah. He saw a picture when we came from Europe, and we were one group, 41 persons. And when we came to Bremerhaven to leave Germany, then they took pictures of us, and we made that big site on the boat. But we came with the first boat to the United States in 1946. And we arrived at 24, I told you before. And that's just how we got together. And finally, to Joe Strauss, he saw the picture in the paper, the forwards, that he called out your father in Max. And they didn't know. Well, you know, our name wasn't Siegel, our name was Zezak. So
how do you spell that?
R-Z-E-Z-A-K.
How come?
How did they ever get the name Siegel? Did you ever hear?
Yeah. I heard the name Siegel. Why? Let me tell you something. It is not a shame. This was modern the old time.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to read and write,
Right.
especially in English. Then he came here. In the name Zezak, it's very, very hard. Even in Poland, people didn't know how to spell it. Then they didn't spell it, and I think they lived somewhere in Brooklyn on a Siegel Street. Yeah, and every day your father, your grandfather, and Max, they used to say every morning Siegel Street. Then he picked us, and it was for them. Then when he came to America in the beginning, then our name was Zezak. And we went to visit Albert in Canada with your grandfather. And in Canada, nobody knows Albert's last name. They call him Mr. Albert and Mr. Albert, and they start calling Annie Mrs. Albert, and me they start calling Mrs. Albert. And then they had 3 names. Finally, when we came to Port Jervis and we decided to stay, then your father, rest in peace, came, he said, easiest time for you to change the name. Then he called out, Eddie Conner, the lawyer, you know Eddie Conner, the lawyer. He said, would you change him the name? And he went and changed the name.
So you all had the same...
And I became also a Siegel.
Okay, you're glad, sorry.
No, I'm not. Well, let me tell you something. This is an interesting thing for the name. I remember after 5 years, we wanted to become senior citizen. Then we had to go to Goshen for a hearing, you know, there was a whole story.
What?
Not senior citizen, you mean U.S. citizen?
U.S. citizen. Then the man who was taking making the report, he said that we changed the name from Zezak to Siegel. He said, I like you. I said, why are you liking me? You see me the first time, I see you the first time. He said, you took a Slavish name and got a real Jewish name.
Oh, that's funny.
They were laughing. Then I asked him, what is your name? He said, Lazarevich.
No wonder. His name was Lazarevich. He was over here in Goshen, Orange County, in the court there?
Yeah, I was in the court, and I made a little speech in the court. Well, I remember that George told us...
Both of you at the same time?
George made a speech to us, and he said, we're glad to have you for senior citizen, and we know you're going to be a good citizen. And I said to him, can I say something? And he said, go ahead. And you know, my English that time wasn't like now. Now it's very bad. Now there was even worse. Then I said, only people who came from other countries can enjoy and have the pleasure to be a citizen in America. And I'm sure we're going to be. And that was the story with the name.
So it had nothing to do with the bird then, right? Even though it's spelled differently. It was, okay. Now, so you came over, so in other words, if Joe Strauss, he was what, Himalayan knitwear, wasn't that it? Himalayan knitwear?
Yeah, what's that?
But there was Louis Strauss, too.
No, there was a Louis Strauss one brother, and Joe was the older brother.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you remember Lou or Joe.
I remember staying there once, and all he had in the refrigerator, he was a single or a widower or something, and all he had in the refrigerator was a couple of cans of soda.
That's also Eddie Joe's son. Joe's son.
Joe's son, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He's still around, I don't know where he is. Well, I didn't see him a long time.
He had a place out by the beach in Brooklyn somewhere, and all that.
They had a living there.
Yeah, it was called Himalayan knitwear, I think. And they made that beautiful that blend of lamb's wool.
Right,
he invented the blend of lamb's wool.
That's what Louis Strauss.
That was Louis. All right.
Right.
Okay. That was his brother then.
Louis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's on now?
I'll take care of it in New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So let's just do it.
Okay. So, all right, is it on again?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so, Louis, so you're talking about Louis Strauss had that blend, the first blend.
And he made and he patented. Oh, when he patented, he was working for a company, for a German company in New York, Barnett. I don't know, you heard maybe.
Arthur Barnett used to, yeah.
No, not Arthur Barnett. Arthur Barnett was the agent from the H&M.
Oh, okay. From the factory.
Yeah, he got all this, he sold, he was living in New York, but there was another Barnett.
Oh, okay.
Then he got patented, and he could use it. He had a trial, I don't know what was going on, but he made it on the boss time. Then I don't know, the boss paid him out something, and a few years later, he passed away.
But without Strauss, without Joe Strauss, you never would have...
Then when I came to New York, when I came to New York, nobody from the family knows I'm coming. But there was Israel Siegel, Israel Joshak, and he was from Watch, and his father's name was so-and-so. Then Joe Strauss, he was reading the forward.
His Jewish Daily Forward?
Yeah. Your grandfather used to read the Day. There was a newspaper Day that took in the... Then he saw the picture for the whole group with the boat when we went in the ship in Germany. Then when he saw this, he called up Max, your Uncle Max, and not uncle, no, older uncle, my brother. And Max said Max wasn't, to run and to ask. Then he said, what can I do? Then Joe Strauss said to Max, finally you can do, why don't you go to the forwards? Or call up the forwards and he tell you who he is and when he come and where he come. Every day he didn't go. And I came to New York at that time. Then we needed where to stay for a while. Then he took us to the Hyers. And our friend, the old friend from home, he came to see us, to meet us. And we wind up in Hyers. You heard the organization, Hyers? That's for people who come from foreign countries. They wind up, they have a home in the meantime, till they get in hotels or something. And we used to speak Russian. Then there was a woman, a writer, I have the book from him, the book is upstairs, a Russian writer. And then she called down, if there is somebody who speaks Russian, she would gladly give us a room for how long we want and for how long we need it. Then after that, we went up to that family on 106th Street in Manhattan. And we stayed there, I think, only about 3-4 days. And somebody called up, Joe Strauss called up the newspaper, the forwards, and we told them exactly where we are located. And one day on a Friday, the telephone called for those people where we were staying. And the escort there is a newcomer to the United States from Yale, and his name is Shashak. And the people said yes. Then he asked them why he can talk to me. Then I picked up the phone, and he talked in Yiddish. And he said, oh my God, on the phone he was going crazy. I said, what's going on? He said, I called you brothers. So I saw the picture in the forwards. And he did it until find out. Then finally we were standing in New York for 3 days or more, or 3 days, till he got in touch with your grandfather and with Max. That was Friday, and Max was in New York, in Patriots. But Max, you remember that, so he used to come down here Thursday and go home Saturday.
Right.
Then finally, Joe called up Patriots, and Max was in the office, and Max answered the phone. And he talked to me in Yiddish, you know, I couldn't speak English at all. Then he said, oh, wait a minute, your grandfather walked in. He said, Harry, you have here our brother from Poland. And then your grandfather said, all right, today is Friday, I can go to New York, and I will be there Saturday evening. Then Saturday came the fall, and we were sitting and waiting for your father. Your father went to Selma, and finally we meet 9 o'clock night. Then we had dinner in a restaurant, and don't ask me what restaurant, I don't know. And Sunday morning you became to Progeris, and since then we are here.
You've been here ever since, eh?
You're taping all this, what you're saying.
Yeah.
Can you have coffee now, or?
Well, we'll go on a little more. And then, sure.
Then you have coffee.
Sure.
What do you want to have coffee or go on?
How about you two? What do you want?
Are you hungry? Come on, get me coffee. Then we can talk about it.
Have coffee and then you'll go on.
Okay, you tired, is he?
No, I'm tired to what?
This is fascinating.
He doesn't do nothing.
I'm not tired.
You know whose idea was actually, it was our friend, the judge, who you talked to at you and Susie's graduation party. He said,
Yeah.
I was talking to your Uncle Lizzie, and I spent 2 hours listening. It was fascinating, so that's how we got the idea to tape it, you know.
I have his card in my wallet.
Yeah, this card, yeah, he always talks about you, you know.
He's a nice fellow.
Yeah, very nice, yeah.
Is he a good judge?
He's a good judge, yeah, huh? He's stern. I mean, if someone commits a crime, they go to jail, but
Yeah,
he's
no, I know. Does he has a heart?
Oh, sure he has a heart. Oh, sure. Oh, sure he has a heart.
Judge is not enough. There has to be a good judge, you have to have a good heart.
Oh, he has a good heart.
He's a nice
He's a
fellow.
very close friend of ours. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I met him a couple times. I met him once in your home.
Yeah.
And then we made by the party.
Right. But no, but he believes in law and order, and he's, he has a heart, sure.
Does he live in Newport?
No, he lives in near Raleigh, in Paulpack.
Oh.
And he has 6 daughters.
6 daughters?
6 daughters.
Oh, my.
Every one is a blonde.
Yeah?
Yeah. And, yeah, we see him quite a bit, you know.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
No, I remember when I came to Susan's party, he didn't let me go.
I know, yeah, he was fascinated by it, yeah. But you told him about, that's what we want to find out today, all the things you told him.
No, there is their corrections, you know, maybe I repeat myself.
Yeah, that's all right.
Lovely dog.
Where's he living now?
He
Lives in
broke,
Florida.
He lives in Florida.
he broke that already.
But she lives in Manhattan.
Oh, yeah?
So,
She lives in New York and he lives in Florida.
No,
they used to,
go back and forth.
you know,
That's fine.
she wasn't willing to move. She has an excellent job. She's in admissions in Columbia University.
Admissions in Columbia University, wow.
Yeah.
So, he didn't want her to move?
He didn't want her to give up everything that she has. She has a gorgeous condo in Manhattan. She's from a very wealthy family. But she's crazy about him. And she would give everything up and move. And he has a little house, but it's nothing great. It's like a little summer house in Florida, you know. No heat. But for a bachelor, it's good. But for, you know, a couple, it's different. And he just felt that she has so much to give out.
Does he miss her?
In a way, at first he was kind of, you know, down a little. But I said, Marvin, if she was willing to give all that up, and see, the problem with my kids is that they don't like to, anybody should help them. her parents would really, do anything. They would build a house, they would do anything. But he didn't want it. He wants to do everything on his own. So he felt she has too much to give up. And besides that, he says he liked her an awful lot, but he did not love her. So that was, I think, the main reason.
What about when you went to the factory?
The thing is, he's broken once in 2.5 years. And, anyway, and now it's suddenly... Okay.
Isn't that funny?
So go ahead. So you went to New York with my father?
Yeah, going to New York with your father. We had to make some samples by Harold. I don't know, you remember the...
Harold Knitwear, yeah.
And your father said, come on, he said, let's go together. We went together over there and we were talking about you.
Harold Knitwear, this is Reuben, wasn't it? No? Reuben, wasn't that his name? Reuben, yeah.
Oh, he was a gentleman.
Yeah, that was before it became Huddlespot. Yeah, before Don Anglin.
And anyway, we were talking about you. Well, you give up the job up there, you came to Milford, and I said to him, hey, listen to me, I'm not the smartest man, and I'm getting home by the one. No, that is not a job for Arthur. Then he said, no what, he doesn't want to do nothing else. I said, why don't you take out $20,000 and put it in the bank and say, Arthur, go home, finish law. And
your mother always wanted you to be a lawyer. Remember that?
She wanted me to do a lot of things. And
I told him that time, he said, you said something smart. And then when father helped you, you went to school for 2 years, and you became a lawyer.
That's all it took? 2 years?
I was in my 30s, maybe.
I know. I keep telling Marvin, it's not too late. I keep telling him, Marvin, as long as you're single, Arthur did it with 2 kids.
But a few years ago, about 3 years ago, he decided to go.
You should do what makes you happy,
Yeah, but I don't think he wants to do this for the rest of his life.
Oh, how'd you do that?
Just close it and did it. So you don't think he wants to do?
I don't think he wants to do what he wants to do
cake
for the rest of his life.
No, why not? It's not interesting?
Yeah, it's very interesting, but he has trouble with the shoulder.
What's he do?
He makes fancy stairways.
Very fancy stairways. He gets paid very well.
But people like that do something, they accomplish something. See, the rest of us, we play with papers. What does it mean? When you grow something like this, or you build something, you build a house, a stairway, you do something that matters. That's real. You can touch and feel, huh? What?
No great future in it. And what he's doing.
Yeah, but if you're happy,
he doesn't want it. He's not crazy about money.
Yeah, me neither. If you're happy, that's the important thing.
Yeah, he's very happy.
If you're a free spirit, what do you need?
I want to tell you something. He came to Florida a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he was making the first job, a real job. And then said, Dad, you want to see what I'm doing? And yeah, I said, I would like to do. I would like to see it. And he took me in a place. It was a beautiful home. A guy who built a house, a brand new home. He didn't like it. He wanted to make his way. And I don't know how Marvin got to them or they got to Marvin. And I came in the house. He opened the door where the people wasn't in the house. He opened the door and said, Dad, will you please put on the light? And I stayed like a dope looking a switch. And I said, where are the switches? He said, over there. I'm looking on the whole room. There was no switch. Then he went over to something over there. He said, then put the hand on it. And the light was on the whole house. And when the light was on, there was no light seen. There was no light. It came out from the ceiling light. In a jump like this, the guy told him, Arthur, that's me, Marvin, listen to me, I'm going to my daughter, and I'm going to stay over there a few weeks, and you don't need me here, except you need money. He said, yeah. Then he went, and he gave him, opened him an account, and he said he didn't ask him a price. And I walked in the house, and I said, why did you make it? Then a living room, yes, a living room was as big as both rooms here that I'm from the living room. He said, this is the wall, I made it. And I said, that's finished? He said, yes. The guy wants something when nobody has it. Then Marvin found out to buy marble and put it on the left side out. Did you saw marble sometimes we have in the best holes and yeah, that's what he wanted. And he made them the one wall there, and a lot of things, small things, I don't remember. And when he took me there, he was making the guest bathroom, you know, on the side. The same thing, the whole wall. Then I said, Marvin, how much did you, how much can you make? And I think like that I have, he told me, 2 jobs a year. I could live like a king.
Because being that man happens to be very wealthy and money didn't mean much to him.
You know, it's nice if you're happy what you're doing, you know.
But he likes what he's doing, but I think he's getting tired of it.
You know, what I do, a million people can do as well as I do. It's a dime a dozen what I do, you know. I mean, we make a good living, you know, but I mean, it's a job. It's work. I mean, it's aggravation and torture. So you meet some nice people, but you meet some awful people too, and it's stress and.
He couldn't handle like finagling and you know.
No, if I had it to do over again, if I was going to be if I were going to be a lawyer again, I would be something of some kind of consumer advocate or something in communications or environment, something like that. But you know, really, what I do is not very exciting, really. You know, it's sometimes you help people, like when they adopt someone or something like that. You know, if you can save a marriage, sometimes I try, but
he's a creative man. He wants to do something, you know, but he did it.
I know. That's what we all want to do is creative things. Unfortunately, there isn't that much of a living to be made in a lot of creative things unless your timing is right and the luck is with you.
I don't know.
Well, then he should be doing what he's doing, you know.
You remember Bill Lyman here in town?
Yeah.
He told us when we got the box, he told us, that box, if you want to also.
You want me to do it?
Okay. I'll put that in.
Wait, let me just put it up first. Did you set the speed again?
You know,
So,
did you let out?
Well, you got to the United States, and Strauss's helped you find the Siegels, and you've been here ever since.
Then I came here to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. I didn't like George in the beginning. But to me, I was born in a big city, and I lived all my life in big cities. I never lived in a small town. And I came here, you know, now Portugal became a city, you know, there were lots of citizens and we had lots of cars, but that was different. And we could never wait for Friday to run to New York. And I didn't have a car, and going by train with children wasn't so easy. Well, we got used, and we got friends here, and with the family. And that's what we do, we stay in, and the family is down, and we are still here. Thank God. And that's the story.
And so now, Albert, he was your brother too, huh?
Yeah. Albert, and listen now, we're talking about the family. Your grandfather in Irving's grandfather, Max, he was born from the same father I was born. Or that's my mother was born to your grandfather.
Harry?
No, not to Harry. No, wait a minute, let's screw it up. My father married the second time to my mother. That means they are from the first marriage. And I am from that father, from the father, and from a different mother. And so is Albert. Only Albert and me, we were from the same father and from the same mother.
Okay.
Then the story is in yellow, but you especially, was the story from one father, you are brothers and sisters. In an American, I don't know exactly, I don't know the law about it. It means when you are married, when you are born from your mother, that means from one mother, then you are sisters and brothers. And yellow was different. The yellow was from one father, they are them, but they are the same name, they don't change nothing. And when I came here in the beginning, your father, and then your aunt, they didn't know I'm a right brother to them, or I'm only a stepbrother. Finally, we straightened this out later. And what's the difference? It's no different to me.
No.
Yeah. And that's the reason when I came here, I didn't like it, and I want to go to New York, and I didn't have the language, and we have nobody in New York except Max was living in New York, and he was single that time. Then I don't know, he was then to Albert. In Albert, I couldn't stay in Canada. Well, my affidavit was to the United States. I came as the United States, yes. And I didn't want to stay in Canada. I wanted to stay in New York. Maybe it was wrong, or I think I like it. It's a big city. In a small town, you have to have your neighbors, your friends, and your relatives, how they came. In a big city, you can look for people the type you want to know, and to become friendly with them and lovely. It's every Saturday, 12 o'clock, I came from the factory, and he was already waiting with the children. We jumped in the car, he went to New York. So I was staying here in New York already 42 years. It was last week. No, it's going to be the last week I came to America. When we came here back from Canada, in August we came back on July, and we settled up, and your father asked me, he said, "Easy, where are you going? Where are you going to go to New York?" And I had another trade. I wasn't a college when I came here. I hated the needle trade. I used to be in home, a painter, a builder. Then Max asked me, said, "What are you talking about being a painter? Only the colored people are painters." In Escami, I met an old friend from Yale, from childhood. And he had, 8 or 10 trucks, and he was a painter. That's the offer he made me. He said, "You can start tomorrow for 100% partner for the profits." Then I told Mr. Max, he said, "Oh, painter, go away." And your father said, "You better stay here, don't run, where you gonna go?" And you remained, and then she got pregnant, and that was the end for my career.
You should have done it. You should have done it. Today, painters are rich men,
And now I don't think so. I would like to move away from the culture.
Now you would, right?
I'm afraid for the big cities now. When you live in a town like this 40-some years, you're afraid for the big city.
My mother hated it when she first moved here. She said, "I couldn't sing." She went back every week, and then in her older age, she wouldn't even go to New York, you know.
First of all, I don't know what happened with me. I don't know what. I'm afraid for the Puerto Rican more than for the colored. First of all, they talk so fast and I can hardly understand. And then I decided later, why not? Family, they're not going to let me down. I made a little mistake, but they let me down.
Well, Miriam didn't like it at first here either, but she can't wait now till she gets out of New York.
I think you have to feel it a little bit. Well, I have a good memory. You didn't go alone, or Abe Irving didn't go along with you. You were struggling when you were in the factory.
Well,
And you
starvation wages, yeah.
And I don't even talk now about the wages, but you ask my wife how many times I came home after a day's work, and I say, no, I never go back to the factory.
Me too.
What can you do? We were poor, we didn't have nothing, and we didn't get no help from my brothers, especially, and not even for the nephews. Well, your father was the whole boss. You know this. I don't have to tell you. Then boss, I remember, and I will never forget it. There was a time I lost at the tenor when I bought the house and they do apartment for it. You remember on Prospect Street? And it was a little bit in that child. It was a different story. Then I went to your father while I was working with the same table, you know. And I said, Abe, you know, I could use a few dollars, a raise. And he said, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to my father. Then I don't know, he came back later, some lead, and came Thursday, I got the check. It was the same amount. And I say, hey, you remember I asked you a favor, and really I need it. Then he said, I can give you that raise. You have to talk to my father. I said, I don't have to talk to your father. I know you run the whole business. He said, I asked my father, he told you to give you a raise $5. And I say, no, if you want to give him $5, you give it to him. I don't. Finally, I got that raise $10. One day I came to the factory, and Max was here. And Max was a man, you know, you could talk to him, or if you asked him for something, he was a sport. Then I asked Max, could you please find for me a place somewhere in New York? I don't care where, just an apartment where to stay. And I want to go away from here, I can't stay here. He said, why? And I said, there's a lot of things, why? But the first of the thing, I cannot make a living for $37 a week.
That's what you made?
That's why I made it. I made $40 and he took off $2.50 for taxes. And he said, what? And I said, that's what I'm making. I go home with $37 a week. And I'm paying $12 a week rent. And if we haven't got nothing, we can't get nothing. We can, even without clothes. Well, our clothes got lost in New York when we came. I don't know how it got lost. No, anyway, got lost. He said, what, $37? Yeah, I say in 50 cents. Then he went to your grandfather, and they started fighting over me. The end was, another $5. Then Max said to Abe, well, your grandfather said, I don't know how much he get. Then he went to Irving, and Irving said, I don't know, I'm not the boss here. Now, he's not going to go to Saul. Then he went to the boss, to Abe. He went to Abe and he said, Abe, I want you, and he was working 5 weeks at the Vector, 5 weeks. And she used to get $22 a week. Then she got sick. She was pregnant. She got sick. Then he said, I want you to give him Annie's pay. Put it together, and he's making you pay him $37.22. It's going to be, he said, at least $50-some a week. I never got that. Then I used to come home and lay down on the couch. I didn't want to eat supper. Then your father sent over Irving. And Irving used to come over. That's you remember that. Come on back, don't make this like that. And that was going. And if I would have now small children, they were looking for a job, I wouldn't send them to an uncle or to a brother.
Well, you know, listen, I remember just before we go on, I just remember when I was a little kid, and my father couldn't get a raise from his father, and before payday, we had all we could do to get enough to eat, and I know it was a big event for us when we had enough money for a pint of ice cream to go down to Allen's drugstore and get ice cream. We used to lick the plates. I mean, we split up a pint between the five of us.
I remember,
his father didn't pay him much either, you know.
Yeah, I came once with a proposition to your father. And when I started working, I saw the face, and I saw the stealing, and I saw what people do when people don't work. I say, Abe, I would like to make a deal with you. And he said, what kind of deal? Then I say, I don't want a salary from you. Just give me this by the turn away. And I'm going to make a good living. Didn't happen. No, then I really had that reason. You had the same reason you couldn't stay in the HUN.
No, I couldn't. No, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, you know, between all of them, you know.
See, what he should have done years ago.
I mean, I loved my father, but and he was known as a good boss. All the employees who weren't related to him liked, you know, but the ones who, all the employees who weren't related to him liked him, but I couldn't work between him and Irving and Saul and...
You did the best thing.
I did, you know. It was
the best thing.
I'm telling you, I made him to quit, almost.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. I remember Stanley was working a few weeks in your factory, and they treated him like dirt. I don't know, I think he didn't know better.
It was sort of, you know, the reason I sort of felt that I had some kind of duty to him to carry on, you know. That's why one of those, I didn't like living in, I didn't want to bring up children in New York, but that wasn't me. I loved the work I was doing. I just didn't like, I had the Jewish guilt complex, you know, to go help the family, you know, and I was the oldest one. You know, so my brother and sister got away with it, you know. My sister always felt that, you know, this was sort of my duty. That I remember one time I called my sister up that I was saying I was mad my father wouldn't give me a raise. And she felt that, you know, he was paying me top dollar, and, you know, that this was sort of, I mean, I love my sister, you know, but she felt I was getting top dollar, which I wasn't, and I shouldn't be, you know, shouldn't be greedy. But I wasn't like you. I was not getting top dollar, and I didn't like the work besides, and, you know, I know how you felt, believe me. And my brother got away with it altogether. He never went in there.
In Port Jervis, why Port Jervis? Were you all here?
Why Port Jervis? Well, the story I understood from they had the factory in Brooklyn, and they wanted me to join the union, and they wouldn't join the union, so they beat up my grandfather, Harry, and sent him to the hospital.
Your Uncle Sal.
Yeah. So they came up here, and the city offered them some incentive, low taxes or whatever, and so they moved from New York. And, you know, they had union elections all the rest of the life of the factory, even till a few years ago, till it closed, and the union never won. The union never won. They were good. They were good employers, but to their own family, they didn't see the big picture.
Let me tell you something out there. You have to know a little bit history from working people in Port Jervis with 40, 50 years ago. You know, our women used to make $1.80 an hour. $1.20 an hour, and we were living the only thing what it was, your grandfather was a smart cookie. That's how I have to admit. When a girl came, she got posted the check, you know, the cash, but it later is paid in checks. And she said to grandfather, Mr. Siegel, I'm so broke this week. Could you please lend me a few dollars? You take me over every week, $2 a dollar. And he never refused.
Yeah, I know.
He went down to the bookkeeper and give her a loan, $20 or $15. And that's what he liked.
Yeah, I know. I see people around here to this day. You know, I see them in the diner. We saw some, remember them in the diner the other. Margaret, remember Margaret just right there? She came. She asked how we were, and she was talking about the old days. My grandfather and my father. I mean, they were very good to the employees in that way. You know?
Just a few weeks ago.
It's just
a few weeks ago. Mrs. Castellan, you remember I told you I came home? She was working in the factory. And you know how girls are. He turned around one to the other, and he was talking a little bit. In Paul Case, you remember Paul Case?
Yeah.
But was Paul Case in the factory when you came in?
Yeah.
Then she was the forelady, and your father came in and said to her, isn't that time you should do some work in the factory? You're sitting and blah, 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 blah. Then the girl stand up, and she took her coat, and she went home. She just passed away. And that's how I remember.
Yeah, she was and then then Judy came, right?
Then Judy came. Then the Castellan went home. And the girl will stand up everyone from the first to the end. If you're not gonna call her back, be walking out. And that was like hit your father in the face. Then he said to Mary, Mary the secretary, call her up and tell her to come to work back. She had no time to play around. Then Paul went over to him and she told him, you go on the phone and you say, excuse me, and send a taxi number. We have to do it.
She was an important person there.
No, she wasn't important. No.
She had a lot of friends there.
Well, you know, when you talk today to young people, not only to young people now, they used to be always the same thing. The boss is going to fire you. Never be afraid the boss is going to fire you. He needs you more than you need him. And people cannot understand. Say nobody's going to, the boss is never going to fire you.
Right. Well, listen, tell us about the life back in Poland, you know?
Life in Poland was a poor life.
Where did you live? In what town?
Lodz.
Lodz? How do you spell it?
L-O-D-Z.
All
right, that is Lodz. And that was the second largest city in Poland, the second one to the capital. Now it's going on over there. I live in Poland, maybe, I didn't have a car, I didn't have a house, but this is not the style in the occupation, especially in Poland. A worker has to live as a tenor, and I had a very good job, and I had a job, I was a painter at that time. Then I was working in a company, was working 700 people in one place, not in one place. Were builders and carpenters and bricklayers, they are going around in the whole city. And that boss, while I was over there, I used to make that time $55 a week. In an apartment, I used to pay that time in Poland, I think $18 for 3 quarters.
When was that? What year?
That was in the 30s, in the end of the 20s, that time. And I make a good living. The life in Poland is, you can't compare to America. It's impossible. Why, the U.S. asked me how much was 75 zlotys or 50 zlotys. I said, don't ask this way. Ask me what I can buy for the 50 zlotys and what I can buy for $50 in America. Or then you would take mathematically, you can buy the same thing here for $50, but you can buy it in Poland for 50 zlotys. And this is, we were poor people. My father, he never made a living. Never. He was too religious. And he used to get up early in the morning, about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, together with my mother. My mother had a stove, a little stove. Not like the MP. Then the farmers used to bring milk and potatoes and other things to the stove. And my father went to the temple. And when he finished davening in the temple, he was never sure he davened the whole Adam.
You know what davening is, Susie? Pray.
Now praying, the Bible. Then he used to come home, and if he got up 4 o'clock, 5, till he finished his breakfast, then he fell asleep at the table. He never had a tooth in his mouth. I don't remember my father with a tooth in his mouth. Never. And we all already in the old Fall State, we used to call it Fall State. No, he said if he wants to put in teeth, he has to have 2 sets. But one for dairy and one for meat. You can really? Of course. If you, he said teeth is just like a dish. You're using it.
And what about your own teeth? I mean, they were...
You can do nothing with those teeth. And then he wasn't so anxious to go to work. And my mother used to say, what can I do? And my husband, maybe, and he prays in the temple.
Did you ever see Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Twice, yeah. Like that.
Yeah, and that was the story in Poland. That's not a big story. People in Poland, were very poor. And there was a middle class. Then they used to have a little store or a shoemaker sitting in working on a little chair in his house, or a weaver. And that was the Jewish trade. While Jews couldn't get in a big factory, Jews couldn't be a policeman, a Jew cannot be a judge, seldom. That was the style. And then the Jewish religion helped to that. Then they used to go to the rich people, the Jewish people, the rich people, the big manufacturers. They have in Europe a factory in my town, a factory there was 26,000 people working for one company. And the man owned, I think I have from the city, but he gave the workers a place where to live, a store where to buy, a hospital where to get sick, in a cemetery where to get buried. In Thursday they used to pay, by us used to pay, so Thursdays we used to get the checks. Monday he had all the checks back. But Friday event, and what he bought, and what he used was his. And then he went to them and we asked him, why don't you take in some Jews in your factory? In the office was some bookkeepers, Jewish. Then they said, we are working Saturdays, and Jews don't work on Saturdays. Then we start the unions, start organizing, and send the Jewish weavers, for instance, or other trades, to special schools to learn the trade. Then when you came back to them, and you said, now we have educated people, they know the trade. He said, Jews will work on Sabbath, I don't want it. That means the Jewish population was out from there. You have a streetcar, for instance. We used to call it tramway. I don't know if you heard the expression.
Like a trolley.
Like a trolley. It used to be called tramway. In Germany, it's still called tramway. In Czechoslovakia, it's called tramway. Then we got into a big fight with the city, with a big fight at City Hall, while the tramway used to belong to the city. Then finally they accept 2 Jews. Or they were no conductors, and in order to, they stayed in the garages where the tramway used to come back for the night and wash the cars. That means life in Poland for Jews, for the majority Jews, was very bad.
Did they persecute them at all?
Oh, yeah, the programs and things like this, yeah.
Well, how?
Yeah, well, anti-Semitics over there. And then we have schools, for instance. You have 2 children. You want to send them to school. Then public school, you got it. Not in my time. No, I remember school started when Albert was in the age. You have to go to school. Or only public school. You ought to go to high school. You have to go only to private high school. And which poor man could pay? Nobody could pay.
So
then now some Jews, rich Jews, they want to send their children to college. They're sending them to private school or them to college. Then in the colleges was even the anti-Semitism much bigger. Then they made for the Jews the left side benches and for the non-Jews right side. And they used to fight almost every day. As the rich Jews sent their children to Italy, to Germany, to France in colleges, and they used to finish. We have lots of doctors. The most doctors, I think, in Poland was Jews.
I asked the town were only Jews.
Huh?
The 2 doctors were Jews.
Yeah, doctors and lawyers. It's not easy to become a lawyer in Poland.
So you and Albert were brothers, and you had other brothers too?
Oh, yeah, there was other brothers in Yale.
Yeah.
Then Hitler took care of them.
So how many, you had other brothers?
I have in Lodz, when I left Lodz in 1939, when I was drafted to the army, when the war started. But in Poland, the war started in 39, not in 41. Here started in 41. Now we're talking about 39. Then I have Cyril, Scheindl, and Esther, 3 sisters. And Wolf, and Itcher, and Albert. No, Albert was that time not in Poland. Albert was living that time in France. Well, Albert left Poland, I think, in 1937, 2 years before the war started. And when I came back, nobody was alive.
Yeah.
Then I met 2 nations.
Killed by the Nazis?
Yeah. And I had arrived with 2 children. They were killed by the Nazis. And when we came, then I went in the army, and I was in a camp, a war prisoner, by the Russians. And I remained already all the time over there in Russia till 1944. In 1944, I came back already with Annie, and there was nobody in the city, nobody in my town, in my city, alive from the family. Then I couldn't find nobody. I stayed, I think, about 9 months in Poland. From May, from end of April, and we left, I think, in September.
45, not 44.
44, we left Russia.
So you and Albert were the only ones left in your whole family?
Yeah, but I didn't know Albert is alive, no.
How did you find out?
I found out here when I came to the United States.
You didn't know? And he was in Canada, huh?
Yeah, he was living in Canada. Then when I came to Port Joseph, the first thing when I came to your grandfather's house, then your grandfather told me, he told me before in New York, there's another brother, Abucho. I said, yeah. I said, where is he? He said, your brother lives in Canada. I didn't know. Then they find out he was in Canada. Then your grandfather decided to take me to Canada. It wasn't so easy, you need that special passport to test the border. Then I went over there and we stayed 4 weeks in Canada. And then this is the end of it.
So, and Albert died when?
Albert is dead already 8 years.
No. 6 years.
Albert is dead 8 years. Albert died in 81. And don't try to correct me. You want to see on paper? I have it in my pocket. I have the outside in my pocket.
91 he died?
81.
And he has children up there too. Bella was with him?
Bella.
And so you met Annie after the war then, huh?
No, in the war.
In the war, in the concentration?
In Russia.
In the camp? Where?
In Russia.
In Russia. You were in Russia fighting?
No, I wasn't fighting already. I was free in Russia. I wasn't a Russian citizen.
Well, when they freed you after the war, they freed you in
But he
Russia?
sent me over there, like a civilian over there. I had to work in the camp. In the factory, we were cutting wood for the ships.
After the war?
No.
In the war. Okay.
In the beginning of the war, we escaped the Germans.
You escaped. You escaped the Germans.
And I went to White Russia to see my brother. He was in the army, wounded. And he was in the hospital.
In the Polish army, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in the Polish army.
Okay.
And I was in the Polish army.
And you were in the Polish army, and you were done with the war?
Then I was in the army. I was captured from the German. And with the German, I was on the border V. And there was a friend of mine from my city, a German. No, he was a Polish citizen. And he said to me, easy, what do you have to lose? Why don't you escape from here? You're not going to escape, maybe you remain living. Or if you're going to stay here, if I get it. And I escaped with another group of people, Jewish people.
And you went?
And we wanted to get home, but we couldn't. Then I passed my city, and my family, and I couldn't stop in lodge. But the German was already in lodge. Then we went further, and we came to Warsaw. In Warsaw I was wounded, and I stayed in the army. Then the German army made a deal with the, what's the name? I forgot the name already. With the governor to let the army out. Then the German didn't want to let out nobody in the beginning. Then closed the electric company, the gas company. There was no light and there was no gas. And then we didn't want to leave, or we couldn't leave. Then they poisoned the water, the Wisla. You have there's a big river in Warsaw, Wisla. And he opened the border just to let out the army. And then 2 days later, I was captured from the Russian again.
By the Russians? And so you stayed in Russia in a prisoner of war camp?
No, I didn't stay too long, but he sent us right away to work. We had to
cutting wood.
We had to build a bridge. Then we finished the bridge, that was in White Russia. And then they freed us. And I don't know what happened. Oh yeah, then I was free and I went to work. Or not, I was painter, and I was working in a city called Białystok.
Białystok?
Yeah.
In Russia?
In White Russia. And I worked in the post office. And all of a sudden came an order from somewhere, and they had to send out all the people that they came in the war to Russia. Then they sent it to Siberia, and I met her there.
And then how did you get from...
Now, on Siberia, then came an agreement between Polish government in exile. But Poland had a government in England. And we came to a pact with Poland and Russia, and to let out all the Polish citizens from Russia, and to build a new army to go fight, what was his name, what's his name, a general, he was fighting in Africa. Then we supposed to go over there. And then became over there a break between the Russian. But you say Jews are not citizens from Poland, and there was a leader from the Wanda Wasilewski. She said no Jews. Then they started taking the Polacks, and they took out the Polacks. There were some Jews then, but they have Polish names. Then they got two. A friend of mine, he went to over there, and then he was an invalid. He was one day in the war in Africa, and really he died in Poland.
And so you met Anna up in Siberia, huh? And you had gotten there how? You had a relative there.
Siberia. And my brother was wounded in the Polish army, and he was in Białystok in a hospital. So my father said, since I was the youngest, so they were married and had children, so you don't go so fast. But my father said, my child, you save your life, you run. And I was gonna go and meet my brother with his fiancée. He had a fiancée. And on the way, I lost her. She was not as fast as me, and by crossing the border, I lost her, and I kept on running.
And they got her, you mean?
She came later. But
They got separated.
Yeah, they got separated.
Now she's in Israel.
Now she's in Israel. My brother died some years ago. Anyway, I found my brother, and they lived in a small town outside of Białystok. A group from our town, they got together, and they lived like together, you know. And I got there, and maybe after 3-4 months being there, they said that we can go back. Who wants to register to become a citizen? The Russians. Or you want to go back home? So I decided I want to go back home. So that's what I told them. I says, I don't want to become a citizen. I want to go home. Whatever happened will happen. Will happen with everybody.
Where was home?
Home was Poland. So instead of sending me home, they sent me to Siberia. And it was tough. It was tough. I was very young and worked very hard in Siberia. And survived somehow.
And the climate
Got out from there.
And the climate is very good in Siberia.
Very long.
Climate?
Goes down to 40, 50 below zero.
It's a very long story. It's a very, you could write 10 books.
Well, tell me, what did you know about my father in the old country? Harry and Abe.
I didn't know them.
But you were related to them.
Of course.
But you didn't know them at the time, huh?
I remember when your father left Poland, then we were living in Lodz, and your father was living in Planch. This is by train, took about 12 hours, 13 hours to get there. And then there's another thing. The train didn't go all the way. The train goes just maybe a little bit more than a half. And later from Kells, there was a city Kells. From Kells you have to travel by horse and buggy. Then it took to get home, at least about 2.5 days. And then my father, rest in peace, took me in Albert. Albert was at that time a young kid. And we went to say goodbye to your father. And that's the only time when I saw your father before I came to Portugal.
When he went to the United States, you went to see him?
No, when I came from over there, I saw him before he left Poland.
Yeah.
And that was in 1913. Your father came here in 1913 or 12. And now in 12, in 14 started the First World War.
His father had gone before him to the United States. Harry had gone first, right?
No, Max came first.
Max first?
Yeah.
And then Harry?
Then Harry.
And then the children?
No, then what's his name?
Selma?
Then your grandmother remained with the children with, what's his name, with Abe, Sal, and what's his name? Selma.
Selma.
Yeah, in Sydney.
And Sylvia wasn't born?
No, Sydney was
Born
born
in the
here.
United States.
Yeah, Sydney was born here.
And he was a carpenter, my grandfather, wasn't he?
No.
Harry, was it? No? Someone said...
Harry in home was a woodworker.
Oh, well, a woodworker, yeah.
He used to make, for instance, legs to chairs, to tables.
Oh, yeah, Harry's a brother.
Hey, what? Legs to tables?
And then there's another thing. He was an artist in his work. No, he never made a living. Well, he started working. In Europe, you haven't got bedrooms upstairs on the back or on the third floor, second floor. Over there, you live in one floor, and you have 2 or 3 rooms a house, if you have a house, or you have an apartment. Then my father held there long, or he went to the temple, or he did something else, or sitting home and sleeping. And when we went to sleep, he started to work. Then he never made a living, and that's the story. And your father, your father learned from my father. So was Max. When Max came here to the United States, then what's his name, Lou Strauss, helped them a lot. Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Lou sent them money for a ticket, or he sent them a ticket to Europe. Then your father came later, but Max wasn't married in Europe, but your father was married. He had 4 children. Yeah.
My grandfather.
No, you're the grandfather, yeah.
So, how did he get into the rag business?
The rag business is what's his name, to the Strausses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then in the beginning it wasn't so hard when he came here. They used to shovel snow in New York streets and things like that. Now later, what's his name, Strauss, in both Strausses. Then they teach them and they told him, then finally, in the beginning, he was working, woodworking. Then he said he rented a store, not a factory, no, a store, called Flat, and he rented 2 machines. And after the work, he came from the factory. Then they start working half nights, making us.
Hi, Stanley. How are you? Good, how are you?
Making up his feathers. Then Harry was working. Your grandfather was working, and Max was going out and selling.
Hi, Susie.
How you doing, Stanley? We're just finishing here. My grandfather, my father, your son. Yeah, so we'll just finish up now. Just a minute.
I
have to run because... Okay, Stan, we're still saying you again. We'll get you a copy of this.
Okay, great.
Then the end was, they became sweater makers. Then they used to make 1,000 sweaters. And the Strausses used to help them out and give them some customers. And finally, then we rented an apartment, and he was working, and they gave up the woodwork, and they became sweater makers. And then when when I came here to Port Jervis, I remember your grandfather used to say, when I came here, I sleep on, what is a luxury? How is it called?
I don't know what you call it.
Davenport?
You know, you make dough and cutting for that.
Make
And I said,
pilots, you have a board, and you roll on that.
Before the alligators were on the sweaters, huh?
and then another thing is, Max used to teach me when he was going to New York or here in the strip, read the signs.
He couldn't, I understand he couldn't read or write, huh?
Yeah, I could.
No, Max.
Max, no.
How could he drive?
I don't know. Let me tell you something, how your grandfather got his license. Driving the citizens papers. You remember Weinstein? The
account, George Weinstein.
Yeah. Then without George Weinstein, he couldn't do absolutely nothing. Then your grandfather had to go and get papers, citizen papers. Then, of course, he couldn't read and write. For money, you could do with everything. You are a lawyer, you should know.
He isn't that.
No. And then he went to the city hall, I don't know what to do, court. Then he would tell your father to buy a New York Times. Or your father didn't know which is up and which is down. Then he took with a pencil and made him a mark like this. And keep the paper and watch it, don't turn it around. And he became a citizen. And he became a rich man. You see, you don't have to know nothing.
How'd you learn?
But he learned to read and write. Max never did. He could only write his name.
No, let me tell you something. Years took a long, long time till your grandfather used to learn to sign his name, Siegel. And that was the reason why he changed it. He couldn't sign. There's another thing if you want to talk about family. We have cousins from my father's side. I met only one of them. And he is a lawyer and works in Washington. His name is...
Weinstein.
Huh?
Feinstein.
Feinstein?
Feinstein.
Anyway, when Max passed away, then we went to the funeral. And I came to the funeral, I didn't know her. I don't know her family. Then I was introduced to a woman. And she said to me, you know what? I am your cousin. I said, very good. No, this was in Yiddish. I couldn't speak English that time. And I said, how are you a cousin? Then she said, my father and your father were brothers. And I said, what is your name here? Zizek. They couldn't make Zozak, then they make Zizek. Z-E-Z-A-K. No, not K, no C.
Z-E-Z?
Yeah,
C.
Yeah, they're living somewhere in Boston and Philadelphia. I don't know where they're living. Oh, that was from...
How'd you learn English here? You just learned it?
In the States. I didn't go to school, I went to school in Port Jervis. 1 week, the school exists, that's all. Well, I remember when I came here, and Annie came here, and she couldn't go, she stopped pregnant right away, and little children, then she didn't go to school. But then I went, what was his name, the principal from the school, Horseman? Horseman, you see, I remember the name. And I think I went with Sally Siegel. I don't remember who told me to go to him and to ask for education. Then I came to him and Sally...
I finished high school home, but that English was not the language.
Right.
Then I went to Horseman, and Sally was talking to him, and she was translating from Yiddish to English. And he said one thing, we haven't got a night school in Port Jervis. Or if you can give me a group from 10 people who want to be educated, then I give you a teacher and you can have lectures and almost 3-4 times a week. Now, that wasn't easy at that time to find people what you want to learn English. Then I started going around, and asking people. There was Dayton, You remember Nathan?
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
Oh, he lives in Florida.
He was he left, he worked in the factory a while, then he left. How was he related to you then?
That's my sister's son.
Okay, so he was your nephew too.
Nathan.
Nathan, yeah.
Yeah, he lives in
Very well.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time. Yeah, what does he do?
Oh.
You know Meineke? They advertise Meineke mufflers.
Yeah.
He has a franchise.
That's nice, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. And he has 3 sons.
Yeah.
And he has a wife.
Yeah.
And that's all. Then, wait a minute, where was that?
You were talking about Nathan.
Then Nathan. Yeah, no, how did I came to Nathan? Oh, yeah, you asked me what, here it is. The 3 sisters in Poland. Then I came back to home, to America. Then I found out I had a nephew in Germany, and 2 nephews in Germany. There was Nathan and Harry. He's dead already. He died. He was living in Montreal. He was also an assistant. And that was going on.
All right, so listen, I want to thank you. It was great.
Thank you first of all, thank you for coming. Otherwise, I would never see you.
Oh, it's great. We don't get to Fort Jervis that much anymore. Really.
Let me ask you.
I didn't even come to the Texas lunch anymore.
No, I wanted to come down. I don't like to go down in the office when you are busy. Let me tell you something. Your grandfather had a plaque for 8 people in the cemetery.